Hey, and welcome to the Vanika Lewis Show. I am so excited that you are lending your ears to me for this short period of time. I believe that every day is another day to do life right. And that's exactly what we talk about here on this show. So buckle up your seatbelts and let's get ready to dig into another episode. Hey ladies, today I want to talk to you about the power of God-given dreams and the danger of dream killers. So if you have known me for any amount of time, you know I'm getting ready to talk to you about one of my most favorite stories in the Bible, and that is of the amazing King of Dreams, Joseph. But before I can talk to you about Joseph, I got to give you a little bit of history and tell you about Joseph's daddy. Joseph's daddy, Jacob, was a bad man. And if you follow the story of Jacob through the Bible, you know that his name was later changed to Israel. Now, for all my church people, you've heard of the 12 tribes of Israel. Well, did you know that the 12 tribes of Israel actually are from the 12 sons of Jacob, whose name was changed to Israel? And one of those 12 sons was my boy Joseph, the King of Dreams. Joseph has an amazing story and testimony, and I believe is one of the greatest examples of the power of God-given dreams. Well, to understand Joseph and his dream and what happened when he told his dream to some dream killers, you have to understand his daddy, Jacob, aka Israel. Jacob, y'all, had two wives who were sisters, and they didn't quite get along. You see, Jacob had a thing for the love of his life, and when he went to marry her, the dad tricked him by actually having him marry her sister, the ugly one. And because he had married her, he had to stick with her, y'all. And together they had multiple kids. And 7 years later, he was actually able to marry his true love. And together they had 2 kids, Joseph and a little brother. You can imagine the rift between these 2 baby mamas, these 2 sisters who had kids by the same man, and how much they argue, funked, and fought. And because of that, that rift trickled down to Jacob's 12 sons. Why? Because they was beefing like they mamas was beefing, right? And so Joseph at the time was the youngest of the kids. And so the older brothers, who all had the same mom, would kind of pick on him. They would pick on him. They teased him. They bullied him. And Joseph, as you can imagine, I'm sure, always really wanted to be friends with his siblings. He wanted them to love him and to have a good relationship. So in my mind, in my imagination, I always see Joseph trying to do little things that will win the favor of his siblings. So you can imagine when Joseph hits his teenage years and he begins having visions and dreams from God about who he would be when he grew up. Joseph, in all of his excitedness and wanting to mend this relationship with his siblings, thought that he could share something amazing with them that will want them to love him a little more, maybe befriend him a little bit more. And he begins to tell them about this dream that God had gave him and how he would once rule a nation. But here's the tricky thing. Jacob, y'all, I'm tripping. Joseph tells the dream and how God gave it to him, which was really about some stacks of hay and wheat that bowed down. So as he tells this dream, the brothers interpret the dream and say to Joseph, "Who in the world do you think you are? You think that you're going to be better than us, that you're going to rule us, that we going to bow down to you? You got us messed up. You got us twisted. That ain't happening." They were so upset that God had shown Joseph in a dream that he would rule above them one day, that they decided to go ahead and handle Joseph on their own and get him out the picture. So what do? They tell Pops, we going on a trip. And when they were out, they actually sold Joseph into slavery. They went back and told Dad that Joseph had an accident and died. Crazy. Can you imagine your siblings selling you into slavery? Can you imagine your siblings hating you so much that any inkling of you succeeding or having success causes them to want to turn on you with a vengeance? That's what happened with Joseph. So check this out. First and foremost, here's the thing that I want to tell you that's important about understanding dream killers. When you take a look at Joseph and his brothers, the fact that they were able to interpret Joseph's dreams tells you that they had the gift of dream interpretation, just like Joseph did. If they were not so focused on the position that God revealed that he would hold one day, they would recognize that they had this amazing gift as well, that they had something special amongst all of them being descendants of Jacob, aka Israel. And here's what I want you to understand about dream killers. Dream killers are positioned from a perspective that they have failed to understand and recognize their own value, their own self-worth, and their own gifts. So they're so focused and intimidated by you and the position that you've been called to that they can't see their own greatness, and that therein lies why they are so focused on killing your dream. It's because they have yet to recognize their own worth. So if you are listening to this, and you may not want to say it out loud, but you're a dream killer, I want to encourage you not to be so focused on everyone else's success. You don't have to be jealous about someone winning. You don't have to be jealous about someone holding a prestigious position, that you see them making sales, that you see them getting thousands of followers, that you see them with a handsome spouse, that you see them with pretty kids. You don't have to be jealous of that. Why? Because, sis, you're worth something too. Do you know that you have value? I want to encourage you right now, if you're a dream killer, that you go take a look in the mirror and that you begin to ask God to help you recognize your own worth. Because guess what? If you stop focusing on everybody else winning, you'll recognize that you can win too. That you can win as well. If Joseph's brothers weren't so jealous of him, they could have experienced an amazing journey of winning and fulfilling those dreams together, collectively. They just didn't know their worth. And sis, you just don't know your worth too, but it's there. God has given you gifts and talents, and he has a plan and a purpose for your life too. You don't have to sabotage anybody else to win. All you got to do is focus on who God has created you to be. So that's first and foremost. Dream killers can be dangerous, but like I said, if you're listening to this and you're a dream killer, there's still hope for you. There's still a plan for you, and you don't have to stay there. You don't have to be focused on sabotaging other people. You simply just have to focus on your own success. Now back to my dreamers. Here's what I want to encourage you with for the day. The dream that Joseph had were not just his own selfish desires. They were not him chasing just random success. The dreams that he had were actually visions that God had revealed to him about his purpose and where God wanted to take him in life. And here's something I want you to know about a God-given vision. The power of a God-given dream is that it does not matter who comes against you. It does not matter who tries to sabotage you. It does not matter who tries to attack you. They cannot change God's plan for your life. God does not fail. He cannot fail. He is not a man that he should have to lie. So if God showed it to you, it will come to pass. You don't have to stress on who's trying to sabotage you. You don't have to stress about who's talking about you or whispering in the streets. You don't have to stress about who's trying to copy you or do what you do, because God's plan is for you. And God's plan does not fail. Joseph's brothers sold him into slavery, but what they did not realize is that by doing that, they were actually positioning him in the very region God needed him to be in to fulfill the dream. So don't worry about your haters. They're just helping to position you for success, because a God-given dream cannot fail. That's the power of a dream that is given from God, is that you know without a shadow of a doubt that it will come to pass regardless of what happens or who's against you. So I hope today that I am able to encourage you, whether you are a dreamer and God has shown you what he has for you in your future, or if you've been a dream killer because you've been jealous about what you've seen happening in other people's life. I want both of you to know that God has a plan for you. God has a purpose for you, and you don't have to worry about what's happening with everyone else. You just need to take a little time, self-reflect, and make sure that you're doing what you're supposed to do so that God can win through you. God-given dreams and visions are powerful. And dream killers just need a little bit of encouragement to know that they're loved and they too have a plan for their life. You keep dreaming, you keep praying, you keep focusing on what God has shown you, and you know that God's plan will not fail. Take care. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. If you want to find out more about who I am, check me out online at www.vanikalewis.com. And if this segment was good to you, it's going to be good to your friends. Make sure you share it with them. Also, make sure you subscribe so that you get access to episodes as soon as they're released. You want to be the first to get the newest releases from the Vanika Lewis Show. I can't wait to continue talking with you about a new day and a new opportunity to do life right. Until next time, take care. Bye.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.